everyone. Amina here with the Float Small Business Podcast, speaking with Gabriel Mathews, founder and creative director of Concord Design, about how he's gotten creative as a small business owner during this difficult time. Hey, Gabe.
Hello, Amina. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. It's been a series of ups and downs.
Yeah, I hear you. It's been like that here too.
Yeah. You know, we've been cooped up now for a long time. A long time. What do you miss?
I miss the coffee shops greatly. I think most of my best ideas come when I'm not trying to have them. And that's when I'm at a coffee shop reading a book on philosophy, or I'm taking a 3-mile walk around the neighborhood. And to do it without this sort of insulated sense of I gotta protect myself in every way. So it's a little exhausting in that way, but I'm looking forward to finding other ways to find catharsis that helps me with my inspiration when I'm doing development of concepts.
Yeah. I would love for our audience today to have a better understanding of what it is that you do and your team at Concord Design. What kind of design?
The stuff that I've been doing now, working on music videos, is completely the antithesis of what I used to be doing, which was much more product design centric. I still do that, and I still do exhibit design. And even in this climate, I still get requests from my clients for renderings and that sort of thing, and layout design and that sort of thing. But most of the time has been spent doing more reference design of like, what does the future of solar powered kites look like, or whatever, to really show that we're looking towards the future with an optimistic eye.
Well, and I think that the world needs that now more than ever,
Mm-hmm.
especially things that don't destroy the planet at the same time.
Yeah. Helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good time to be an idealist because we have the margins to do it. If we're stuck at home anyway, why not dream?
Very well said. How has this changed things for your day-to-day work? Do you work in an office? Do you work from home some other way? How has this changed what you're doing?
My office has had the benefit of being from home for at least the last decade. So a lot of the adjustments that I haven't had to do, or I've had to do, have very little to do with my day-to-day. I mean, like, I get up and I come to my desk and I start working. And I feel very, very grateful to be in that circumstance. So for me, the biggest adaptation has had to be, okay, I have a customer base, and a lot of my potential customers are not going to want to bring in new vendors. However, I can maintain and show my worth to my existing client base by continuing to evolve my skill sets, be it either software or the things I'm researching, or just generally what I'm putting out there day to day for my clients to see, like, hey, this guy's still engaged and still busy, and he's not letting, the panic of the circumstances rule him, versus, making some cool stuff that show that there's growth happening.
Yeah. So would you say that has been the biggest pivot for you, that you've seen this as an opportunity to grow?
Yes, in a very specific way. So this is probably the first time that I've used my own. I mean, I've always naturally been someone who's very curious and always wanting to learn new software and stuff. I've never put that part of it out there as a marketing push before. So I have clients who are reaching out to me now who are saying, like, hey, I love that stuff you're putting out on Instagram, or hey, I love that stuff you posted on XYZ website. And it's keeping me in the top of their mind to say, like, hey, when we have the next great thing that we want Gabe to work on, we have him top of mind because he's doing all that cool stuff. Meanwhile, my competition has kind of vaporized, or they're regurgitating the same projects over and over again. So I think that's kind of how I've been setting myself apart.
Okay. Yeah. I can see how that would. So, for the small businesses that might be listening to this podcast episode, whether they're in the design world or, in the food industry or whatever, it sounds to me like a piece of advice that you might give would be innovate but don't be afraid to share what you're innovating, because not only could it help others, but it'll keep you top of mind with your audiences.
Yeah, there's a funny thing about creativity. I mean, I don't want to sound like a creative diva or anything, but designers are naturally just sensitive, sort of gooey people, and so they don't want to show that soft underbelly of projects that are in development or passion projects or that sort of thing, because they think it's going to like expose their weaknesses. And I think that this is the exact time that you should be showing your guts, show the soft belly of development, because frankly, it's an opportunity for you to show your worth, like as somebody beyond just a pencil pusher. Like, I've worked at places before where they just find you to be a hired hand, where it's like, oh, you just, you make pretty pictures all day and that's all you do. They have no idea of the level of depth that goes into the development of those pretty pictures. So I think if you can, we're being given an opportunity, at least in the creative field. I'm sure in consulting and other fields as well, we're being given an opportunity to show that sort of how much work goes into it. And it's not only validating prices, but it's also showing like, hey, maybe he's actually worth more than what we're paying him. And so we really can see what kind of value we're getting. So, yeah.
I get the feeling that you still really love what you do. I know a lot of creatives who, after taking what they loved, turning it into a business, fall out of love slowly. What has kept you this passionate, and thereby what advice do you have to other businesses that are doing what they love but have elements of their business that are stressful or repetitive? How do you stay fresh?
Sure. Well, thanks. I appreciate that question. I think a big part of it is that, to me, when I look at what's out there in the world, like if I look at a leaf, I still think of that as a magic trick. Like, I have no idea how, in the billions of years that as the universe evolved, that all of a sudden there are solar panels that grow out of the ground. Like, that's really freaking cool. So I think just constantly having a sense of wonder really keeps things fresh for me. Regarding the more menial tasks, I'm finding gratitude in what I have. I think that that's all you can kind of do at this point, is be thankful for what you have. And if there's something you don't have, assess whether or not you need it. I mean, I'm speaking purely from a business point of view right now. I think these are opportunities to figure out how to solve things. So when all of this is over, if I've creatively made a streamlined version of my business that can work doing more with less, I think I'm going to come out a winner on top,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. Part of the purpose of this podcast is to provide helpful ideas to small businesses, because everybody has a different struggle. Some of those struggles are financial, some of them are emotional. I mean, they're countless.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts just to small businesses that are out there that are just feeling like this really sucks?
I think you and I have had many conversations about how I'm pretty good at looking at things from very strange angles to find solutions. And that's one of the things I do, is I say, okay, well, let's for a second pretend I'm a bank. How would a bank go about this problem? Or let's say I'm a small bookstore. How would a small bookstore go about this problem? And it might not yield anything initially, but then I start to bridge little gaps. Well, what do a coffee shop and a bookshop have in common? Well, they both have customers that come in. Well, I don't have customers that come in, but I have customers that email me. Are there any sort of parallels there that I might be able to use to solve whatever problem it is I'm trying to solve? And that often will yield something pretty good.
Okay, so just so I'm understanding, you actually try to put yourself in the shoes of a completely different type of business and imagine if you were that bookshop, how would you handle this situation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I might have to start doing that, because I'm always just thinking, how would my critical father do this? Which is not always helpful. And I think that's part of why I wanted to start this podcast and talk to different kinds of small businesses and, also just people that could give advice from different points of view, because it might not be immediately applicable to, maybe there is a coffee shop listening to this episode right now and you're a designer, and so at first blush it might be, well, why do I want to listen to this? I'm not in that field at all. But I think that you make a really good point, that it's not just a diversity of perspectives that is helpful, but stretching our brains a little bit beyond, let's call it thinking outside the box, but like really, not as a cliche, but actually thinking of it from a community perspective.
Well, I think there's sort of a, cheeky metaphor there of like, right now we can't think outside the box because we're supposed to shelter in place, right? So what if we pretend that the box is a fish tank? Or what if we pretend that the box is a tree fort? And that really gets the imagination going of, well, what do we do with the box if we can't get out of it for a minute?
Yeah, that's great. But I think that it's an opportunity to be introspective. It may not work out in the way that we wanted or the way that we anticipated, but we keep pushing forward. And it's not, we can't be optimistic every single day or every single minute. And I think we are entitled to feel what we feel. I just really want to be here for and with the community as we navigate this, because I do feel like being innovative and doing it together, that's the way out.